before each of these historically destructive elections, the Democratic candidate has been discovered to be a part of a massive, devastating scandal.
Oh, yeah.
Have you noticed that?
There's no shortage of scandals with Obama, who claims he was a scandal-free president.
Right. Other than he's married to a man.
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, he's Michael, Big Mike. Damn it, I never know if this thing's on right. That's correct. They're back. Howdy, folks. It's your host of Operation GCD podcast, Double J back here. And for you folks of the interwebs currently getting real judgy over my improper use of grammar and the obtuse use of pronouns, how dare you? Because last time I checked, folks, this is indeed still America. And here in the land of the free and the home of the brave, here's the thing, you can use whatever language you damn well please. That, folks, is one of the foundational laws of this here great nation. A nation literally built by my forefathers. Thus, I feel obligated to, perpetrate these liberties and freedoms as more or less a family tradition, if you will.
I said a hex on bones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition.
What? Huh? What was that? Anyhow, once again, Double J here. And for any of you folks of the interwebs currently confused on the correct spelling of my name, it's indeed spelled with 2 J's. Now, I will be your pilot navigator for this shenanigan-infused journey into the mind of this particular garbage can dude. Coming at you live/recorded directly into your ear holes from my studio/spare bedroom located real deep into them foothills of Appalachia. Directly from the #1 drug overdose death capital of America. Now, for you folks of the interwebs who are joining me here today for the first time, welcome and buckle up for a shenanigan-infused Operation GCD podcast journey. And for you folks of the interwebs who are returning listeners to the Operation GCD podcast and wondered where in the world I've been, well, first and foremost, what's wrong with you? I'm right here. I'm obviously joking, folks, but that's what I like to do here at Operation GCD podcast. I like to mash together comedy and conspiracy theory. And while I have been on somewhat of a lengthy hiatus over, well, even recent weeks and more so recent years, I'm back here producing the Operation GCD podcast and doing my best to infuse my shenanigans into your lives here in, Mean World 2023. And much like a Hollywood film franchise, Mean World 2023, 4 times worse than the original. Because here in the 4th installment of the Mean World franchise, down is up, back is front, men are women, women are apparently men, and dogs and cats exist in total harmony. But even in this crazy land, I figured the show must go on, folks. Anyhow, folks of the interwebs, you may be wondering, the Operation GCD reboot podcast, how does that differ from the original? Well, let me help you out with that. Because the mission here on the Operation GCD podcast, or at least the underlying mission statement, if you will, it's basically the Double J's Double Bird Salute to save America. And I'm not talking about the America's national bird, that is, the American bald eagle. Negative. Not even a little bit. In fact, please let me describe to you folks of the interwebs the precise double bird salute that I speak of. In fact, you folks of the interwebs can play along at home if you'd like. Make a fist with your hand. Extend the middle finger on that hand, both hands that is, if you have two hands, and reach your arms high into the sky and let those double bird salutes fly. Because here in Meme World 2023, where the censorship has reached epic all-time highs, and everyone seems overly infatuated with telling folks precisely what activities they can or cannot do. It seems to me, folks, that Double J's double bird salute is the appropriate remedy. Anyhow, folks of the interwebs, generally speaking here at Operation GCD, I like to provide a brief description for you folks on, what I do here besides the old mashing together of comedy and conspiracy, quote-unquote conspiracy theory. I like to explore other such matters of secret societies, occult groups, and various other taboo topics that are so censored here in our modern era of Meme World 2023. However, prior to my foray here into quote-unquote conspiracy theory podcast hosting, I previously traveled the world for a couple decades as the quote-unquote poster child of the U.S. Air Force military police. In those travels, I discovered many incidents of high weirdness, as well as discovered the occult history of America and the quote-unquote secret society that started America, the Society of Cincinnati, a hereditary modern-day knighthood started by George Washington and encompassing initially just the officers of his army, but later also the enlisted men. When I say hereditary knighthood, the membership is then passed down over time through paternal lineage from the original members. And one thing that those folks were interested in, the Society of Cincinnati that is, and something else I discovered on my many journeys across America, that is the ancient architecture of America, the mounds. Often misdescribed as Indian burial mounds or Indian effigy mounds or just Indian mounds in general. While I have no doubt that natives have history within these mounds, they have cultural origin stories within these mound structures and mound complexes. However, many of these tribes often describe they're not the ones who built the mounds. So, calling them Indian mounds, somewhat of a misnomer. However, in today's podcast adventure, myself, once again, Double J here, am excited to be joined by guest Elizabeth Spraggins, a former adult entertainer and actress turned successful independent business owner and entrepreneur, where today Mrs. Spraggins engages in business and activities in motivating other folks to locate success in their lives by using her own motivational mold in life in which to inspire these folks. I must say that I'm quite impressed in learning Elizabeth's journey, as well as her current interest in assisting folks with improving their lives. And last but not least, I'm thoroughly impressed with meeting somebody such as Elizabeth who shares a mutual interest and affinity in the fundamental principles of this great nation of America. Because as far as I'm concerned here, folks of the interwebs, here at Operation GCD Podcast, priorities in life, as far as I'm concerned, they go freedom, liberty, America, and then oxygen. Thus, in today's Operation GCD Salute to America, myself, Double J here, and Elizabeth Spraggins have a riveting conversation in regards to the current state of existence of America. We delve into various topics of this nature to include the ongoing eradication of the U.S. constitutional rights here in America, as well as the current state of affairs relative to the health and welfare of America and its citizens. And finally, folks, in our topic of discussion today, we discuss more or less the future outlook of America. After all, America is indeed a monumental experiment in human self-governance, and one that I feel like myself and Elizabeth are both fairly optimistic in regards to the future existence and survival of this human self-governance experiment. But the truth is, folks, the shit ain't gonna save itself. It is indeed contingent upon the people of America, both individually and collectively, as in many of you folks of the interwebs. You too can pull up your bootstraps and do some work to save this great nation. You don't have to produce a shenanigan-infused journey of a podcast, nor do you need to engage in motivational and or inspirational entrepreneurial efforts, such as Elizabeth does. However, everyone has their own journey, and that journey differs for each and every one of us. Because, tell you what folks, freedom, it ain't free. And once it's gone, the sad tale that history tells, you know, history. That sad tale is that once freedom and or liberty has been eradicated, it ain't coming back, folks. Not without an enduring effort to escape the bowels of pure evil. And if indeed freedom and or liberty does make a comeback, history tells a tale for that as well. As that tale of history would state, liberty and freedom are few and far between in the history of this world, in any nation. And once these God-given rights of freedom and liberty have gone by the wayside, the battle in which to regain those God-given rights of freedom and liberty is a battle that far outweighs the cost of the battle that's currently presented to America. The battle presented at this moment in time is indeed an important one because, again, our nation is damn near lost. And so goes these tales of history. Thus, perhaps, just perhaps, it's time for you folks of the interwebs to buckle up and ensure that we can keep this merry-go-round of liberty and freedom here in America and keep it plugging on down the road for the sake of future generations as well as for the sake of current generations and us as Americans escaping the current depths of a potentially devastating doldrum that is plaguing this great nation of America and its people. Now, I'm a big fan of the podcast journey here today, and I feel honored to have Elizabeth Spraggins here as my guest, as I'm always excited to meet a fellow American such as Elizabeth, who has a deep affinity for liberty, for freedom, and for America. But perhaps more notably, Elizabeth shares my same sentiment on the proper remedy in which to save America, and that remedy is the aforementioned Double J's Double Bird Salute. Anyhow, folks of the interwebs, I welcome you folks back for a future installment of yet another shenanigan-infused journey into the mind of this particular garbage can dude. And I hope you all folks of the interwebs enjoy today's podcast journey. And if you folks wish to connect with the host of Operation GCD, once again, Double J here, you folks of the interwebs may always contact me at Operation GCD, that's garbage can dude, at gmail.com, or on social medias such as Twitter or Instagram at Operation GCD on Twitter and at Operation_GCD on Instagram, where I routinely like to loiter about the social media places. Well, folks of the interwebs, thank you all again for joining me here today to get a little GCD and enjoy today's podcast, once again entitled An Operation GCD Salute to America with guest Elizabeth Spraggins.
Wham!
I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
The name Vance, though, that JJ Vance. I've heard your name.
Oh, no, you've heard my distant cousin's name, my third cousin, JD Vance. I'm assuming, probably.
Is that
He's the
your
US
cousin?
He's the U.S. Senator from Ohio.
What? Oh,
Yeah.
man, you've got it in your blood. Hi,
Oh, well,
everybody. My name is Elizabeth Spraggins.
Yes, and thank you, Miss Elizabeth Spraggins, for joining me here today to get a little GCD. I appreciate the conversation we're going to have today in America, and appreciate your time. And it's nice to meet your acquaintance. And
It's so nice to be. Oh,
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
It's really, really great to be here. I got to tell you, I have been following your work for quite some time, and I have just been dying to get on your show and have a kind of face-to-face talk with you because
Yeah,
we're thinking alike, JJ.
I like it. I like it. Well, can you share with us a little bit about your podcast that you produce there? What you were just describing to me, and some of the things that interest you in the endeavors you engage in.
Well, sure, sure. But my company is All Joy Inspired, and what we do is we help people through transitions in life. And by transitions, I mean people who were living one way and decide they no longer want that to be a part of their life, whether that be sex work or it be troubles with the law that they are trying to leave in their past,
Sure.
or personal habits or professional habits that are getting in their way of living life in a wonderful and fulfilling way. So what we do is we find sources of inspiration and education and just, community for people to be able to break out of what's keeping them stuck in a bad place in life.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's very beneficial to a lot of folks, especially in this current day and age.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
We
You're
have a
welcome.
conversation to have, JJ. We have been chit-chatting about this back and forth all week, and I'm ready to get this party started.
Well, I'll get it started, and if I can introduce myself, you said you're familiar with some of my work, and I've been the host of the Operation GCD podcast for off and on. I took a brief hiatus in what I like to call Meme World 2020, when the world was kind of just when it broke, and all
Burning
hell
down.
kind of broke loose.
Mhm.
And had a lot of other things I was, professionally I was engaged in at the time, and a lot of things I was trying to accomplish. And while I wanted to continue producing my podcast, it kind of lost priority, just by happenstance. And I still made appearances in other podcasts when asked to and whatnot. So it's not that I didn't enjoy sharing my thoughts and ideas and my message with folks, but it was just lack of time. But yeah, so I've been doing this for about 7 years now, and since May
Wow.
2016, so a little over 7 years.
Wow. Right before the shit hit the fan.
Yeah, well, it seemed like a good time to start sharing my messages. It's stuff I had, wanted to share, but didn't feel motivated, or I didn't feel like I had the audacity in which to do it until that point in time.
Yeah, and I didn't feel the need or the ability to share my message either until someone told me I couldn't.
There you go. Yeah, I don't like it when people tell me I can't do things either, so I'll prove them
Right.
wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today, JJ?
Well, the topic of conversation is just kind of America in general and the current state of America. Some of the high points I'd like to discuss: the eradication of U.S. constitutional rights here for American citizens,
Mhm.
kind of the future outlook of America, and
Yeah.
kind of the current state of America, and then what your thoughts are on the future outlook of America, just kind of generally.
Oh boy. Wow. Okay. So thank you for asking me this, JJ, because you of all people I know have a lot to say about this subject, and so do I. And I'm sure your viewers out there do as well. I began to see, and I don't know if this is part of what, I'm supposed to be replying to right now, but I started to see a dramatic
Wherever you'd like to,
shift.
ma'am. Wherever you'd like to.
Thank you. I started to
Absolutely.
see a dramatic shift in the condition of how I was living as an American back in 2008.
Okay. That's about when I started noticing a shift as well.
I had been blissfully ignorant to things that we now know about how corrupt things are and about how dark, and by dark I mean just downright evil. I
Absolutely.
didn't want to be one of those people to think that way or to talk about things in that way, because it to me, even now speaking this way, it makes me sound crazy to myself.
Sure.
That is there really a I don't know what I can and can't say on your show.
Absolutely anything you want. No
Okay.
restrictions.
I don't want to
I
get
don't
you
like
in trouble with censors.
I don't like to censor. I get myself in trouble all the time. It's no problem.
Okay.
I'm a firm believer in the U.S. Supreme Court stance of no prior restraint on free speech.
That would be nice if that was the case, wouldn't it?
It would be nice if it was not just theory, but execution. You're right. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah. That woo, JJ Vance. Oh my goodness. I started to notice a change in the condition of of how life was for me back in 2008 as a new business owner. I started to see changes in the tax laws, and that's what perked up my interest right away. I'm like, wait, it's never been this bad before. So out of every dollar I was making, I was paying taxes 3 times.
Wow.
As a small business, 3 times. Oh, shucks, I just lost my light. Okay. Hey. And that's when I started to pay attention.
It still comes in good. You're good. You can still see it through the video. You have enough light.
Okay. I started to see changes in other things, such as healthcare. Now, up until that point, I never had a problem with healthcare. Never had a problem seeing a doctor, and now it takes 3 months to get an appointment with someone. And these things just woke up my eyes to pay attention. But it wasn't until 2015, right after Trump announced his intention to run for president, that I saw, like, they made themselves known about who they were and who the bad actors were. And that was when I really started to see things for what they were. And I started doing independent research. And I'm telling you what, the shit hit the fan. Hit the fan. When you see, I mean, trusted news sources going after a political candidate instead of reporting on the subjects being discussed, that immediately made me suspicious. Like, why are these people going after this candidate so much? I knew Donald Trump because I'm from the East Coast. And I'm like, oh, that guy's he's a hero back there. You know, for them to attack him for simply wanting to run for president. But then I started to listen to what he was saying. And it was kind of like, oh, so he must be rubbing people the wrong way. Then I wanted to know why he was rubbing people the wrong way.
Yeah. That's thanks for sharing that journey. That's an interesting beginning of your journey to understand our current state of affairs here in America, because I think a lot of folks have not quite reached that precipice in their lives where they're realizing that they're paying, exponentially higher costs for taxes or healthcare, or the general sense of their well-being in our society has downgraded significantly. And I would say I would agree with you. 2008 seemed to be kind of the tipping point with all that business. And I don't know, I'm not going to specifically blame it on the administration of Barack Obama coming in there and the election of 2008, but that obviously plays a major factor in it. And I had a front row seat to that in Washington D.C. So I kind of had I feel like I'm in a lot of aspects, a lot of regards, I had a very unique perspective on the current.
I can hear more about that if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I got spent a career in the United States Air Force Military Police, leaving and retiring there in 2019, and it wasn't really what my intentions were when I joined the Air Force, but I quickly found myself in a meteoric rise to I guess, quote unquote, minor celebrity status within the Air Force communities. As far as I could, by the time I left the Air Force, I could almost go to every base and I'd know people there and they would know me. My reputation preceded me, etc. I spent many years at headquarters in DC, managing programs for the military police between their budget, their resources, the guns, the equipment. So I had a lot of responsibilities at a very young age. And that journey kind of started in 2006. So I got a perspective of the Bush administration within the headquarters of the DoD, and then I saw a significant change in 2008 when Obama was taking office, and quite honestly,
immediately.
Yeah, literally it was immediately. Yeah, like on election day almost even, and it just seemed very dark. Like there were like a dark cloud had kind of overtaken Washington D.C. And I'm not saying I'm a Bush fan at all. In fact, I think that they're one and the same as far as character.
I used to be. I used to be a Bush fan until I found out what was up with that family.
Right, exactly. And I was in much the same boat. I was fairly indifferent about Bush. I didn't dislike him. I didn't like him. But I didn't, once I had learned more about the Bush family, I quickly found out the actual truth of the matter.
Yeah.
And if you look at the actual activities of George Bush and Obama, they're almost identical as far as the execution of their policies and their administrations. And in large part,
I think they're part of the same brotherhood, aren't they?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Did I lose you?
Oh, did I lose you? I think I lost you, Vince.
Elizabeth,
there you are.
Still there?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were you saying? Go ahead.
I said, aren't they part of the same brotherhood?
The Bushes and the Obamas?
Mm-hmm.
They seem to be part of the same criminal syndicate, if you ask me.
Well, I mean, yeah, but yeah. I thought they were part of, there's some sort of fraternity that they were all a part of, the
Oh,
Skull and Crossbones, I think.
oh, I
Think
don't
the
know
name of
if
it is?
yeah, I mean, I know the Bushes are out of the Skull and Bones out of Yale University. I don't think Obama has that same
Hmm.
heritage because he went to Columbia and Harvard for grad school.
The
But
the
they
thing
are.
about it,
Can I answer your question there real quick? Because they are part of the
oh
same
yeah.
secret society, if you will. The secret society that started America, started by George Washington. It's called the Society of the Cincinnati, and coincidentally enough, named the town I live in
I,
is named after the society. They're the ones who started it, and
wow.
so every U.S.
Really?
president is a member of that secret society, and then every hereditary member. So it's more of a modern day knighthood. So the
Okay.
original membership was the officers of Washington's army, and then after the Civil War, they later incorporated the enlisted members of Washington's army, and the membership gets passed down through the paternal heritage of each original member.
Coolest thing ever. I did not know that. I
Mm.
actually thought that the fraternity with the presidents was something out of one of the Ivy League schools.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of validity to your statement with the Skull and Bones and some of their kind of elite overarching power in this country. There's no doubt about it.
So this is where when I finally started doing research because of how the media treated Trump during the campaign, that's when I started learning things. And when I started learning things, I started looking more into things, and it snowballed. And right now today, had you told me that things in this country would be in the condition they are right now, I would have called you crazy. I would have
Sure.
called you a tinfoil hat wearing individual, like many people call me now. And I stopped caring. I stopped caring because we are like this close from losing our ability to put this back together.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that statement. And the funny reference I like to tell people when they claim I wear the badge of conspiracy theorist with honor, and I like to joke around. Exactly. I like to tell people the difference between a conspiracy theorist in reality is about 5 or 10 minutes these days, because
Yeah.
as much things are going on, as fast as things are moving. I mean, you name the scandal in the media that they've portrayed against Donald Trump, it's all been proven false. And I think that's a large part, from my perspective, why I had at least somewhat of a, initially back, 15, 20 years ago, had a somewhat positive view of George Bush, even just a little bit, because the media hated George Bush.
Did they really though?
Well, I mean, they at least gave the whole propaganda warmonger kind of campaign against him, which made it look like
They
it gave him
did.
the appearance of legitimacy, right?
Now that we know who owns the media companies, I think it's the same five families that own all of the media in the United States. And what we now know is that they weaponize the media to manipulate the public. It's no
Absolutely.
longer reporting of facts.
Yeah, and in part, Barack Obama can be blamed for that, because he lifted a the prohibition against propaganda within the confines of the domestic United States, not
Oh yeah.
national
Oh
defense
yeah,
authorization.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that.
so I'm sitting in Washington D.C. at headquarters watching these things, and I'm not going to say. I mean, I'll say with some degree that I was the best at my job because that's why I was there. But I think others would agree. But and I'm always focused on doing different projects, et cetera, trying to take care of all the field units that I'm responsible for taking care of and whatnot. But I'm watching these things go on in front of my face, and there was just a certain point in time I just by 2012 I just couldn't take it anymore, working at headquarters
Yep.
there and watching that stuff. And
Mhm.
it kind of started from day one for me, because I was tasked with planning, executing, and coordinating the military police efforts in support of the 2009 inauguration events for Barack Obama. So I was ingrained in that whole process immediately within the Obama administration. And when they started planning a week-long inauguration for the president, I quickly found myself in a lot of hot water, because I began speaking up like, does anyone else in this room realize this guy's not a king? We don't have kings in this country. We don't have 7 days of inauguration parties. We have one day.
Do you remember back when Obama was running? I don't know how old you are, but I just turned 46. Do you remember back when Obama was running, or right after he got inaugurated, Christians were saying that Obama was the Antichrist?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah. Remember that?
you remember that?
Yeah.
And
I'm 42. I'm 42.
So you were about that age where things started to make sense with it, but of course they make sense to you because you're talking about it. But
Right.
normally at that age, people don't really care. But
No,
I
it's pretty.
remember hearing people say that he was the Antichrist. And I'm like, why? So I never really thought about it. And initially back then, I was originally a Democrat. I'm so sorry, y'all. Nobody's perfect. Okay.
You're forgiven. You're forgiven.
I was born as a Democrat, voted Democrat my whole life until 2016. But when they were saying that Barack Obama is the Antichrist, I started looking into things. Now, after 2016, when he started influencing people, young people, to begin to hate, and it was way before that he started the racial division, the hate against police officers that made me sick in my stomach. The violence against police officers that happened as a direct result of things that he said. And the Antichrist. So, I was never super close to my faith or my relationship or knowledge of the Bible. I mean, you hear Bible stories as a kid, but, I started to look into what's the deal with the Antichrist.
Right.
Oh, man. And then come to find out there were rumors that he's not even American. But then there's his birth certificate. And I'm like, wow.
I'll agree with that statement, that he's not an American.
I found out that to be true. He's not.
On that topic, let's discuss that real quick if you'd like. I'd like to get your thoughts on the nationality and ethnicity of one Barry Soetoro, aka Barack Obama.
Kenyan.
You think he's Kenyan? Okay.
Absolutely.
I can't disagree with that. I mean, obviously there is some circumstantial evidence to support that with his father being Kenyan, his brother being Kenyan, et cetera. A lot of his half siblings being Kenyan. And I would say because I actually think I would say alleged father. I actually think he has a different father.
Right.
So I think
the thing that.
No, go ahead. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the Kenyan aspects of the situation.
After spending, the worst thing they could have done back in 2020 was lock everybody down, especially people like us, because we have nothing to do but read, right? So what I do when I do research, independent research, is I find a question or a rumor or an accusation that somebody puts into the world, even if it's false news or disinformation. I fucking hate that word now. I really do. But if it's information that doesn't quite sit right with me, I'll check it against many different sources. And I mean, left, right, center, all of them, and old or new. I have many sources of information to confirm or reject that something may or may not be true. So what I did find in my research was many different articles and sources of information that said that he was actually installed by a foreign government. He was installed. His whole political career was financed by a foreign entity.
Saudi Arabia?
Right from his time in college.
We talking Saudi Arabia?
I don't remember offhand. I have to go get my notes. But it was an Arab country installed him in the United States as a student and then financed all of his political career from the very beginning.
Yeah, it seems on that point that Prince Alawid bin Talal, member of the Saudi royal family, that was outed when the new king took over MBS, Mohammed bin Salman. It seems that if you recall, that happened in November of 2017. Mohammed bin Salman locked up all of a bunch of his cousins because they tried to kill him in a Saudi Arabian coup. And the leader of that coup against Mohammed bin Salman, or one of the leaders, was Prince Alawid bin Talal. He was a very powerful man. Even in this country, he owned a large stake in Fox, as in Fox News, Fox Network. He owned a large stake in Citibank. He owned a large stake in Twitter. He had a lot. He was wielding a lot of power in this nation, and it seems that he was one of the financiers, at least one of them, behind Barack Obama, or as I like to call him, my cousin Barry Soetoro. We're distant cousins.
Oh God, I wouldn't be telling people that at dinner tables.
Yeah, the thing that with the Bushes too, if that helps out. So.
Your cousin the Bush too?
Yeah, I'm a Bush through my New England heritage.
Man, you've got an interesting family history, dude. We need to have a fireside chat one of these days. The thing with the Saudi Arabian prince,
podcast yesterday, I like to call it's something I just started calling Conspiracy Campfire, which is just kind of just BSing around with conspiracy topics.
Absolutely perfect. The thing I remember most about that event where the Saudi Arabian prince locked up all of his relatives, that happened right after an attempted assassination attempt in Las Vegas.
Correct.
That was that they facilitated with a mass shooting of people, blamed it on one guy whose entire family came out and said, my brother had nothing to do with this. Now we all know how they operate now. We all know how the letter agencies operate now. But what had happened was Trump and the Saudi Arabian prince were in Las Vegas, and there was an attempt on his life, and they failed. They failed.
Yep.
And I remember hearing about that.
Do you know who owned that hotel? Which the
MGM?
Well, yeah, I mean, it happened
Mandalay Bay.
Mandalay Bay, but the top, I think, 6 or 8 floors of the Mandalay Bay is actually the Four Seasons Resort Hotel. There's a rear on the rear side of the Mandalay Bay. There's an entrance. I mean, you live in Las Vegas. Who am I telling this to? The owner of the Four Seasons was Bill Gates and Prince Alawid bin Talal, the man who is trying to take out his cousin, MBS. So there is a lot of circumstantial evidence to support all these claims we're talking about here.
And when so many people, there were forensic videos, actual science proving that there was more than one gun firing, actual scientific evidence, and they were tossed aside. No, it was just one dude. Well, there were also videos coming out of Las Vegas that night about more than one gunman on the ground in other areas of the city.
You just read my mind. I was going to ask you, I mean, because you know the topography of the Vegas Boulevard, I'm sure, being a resident there, and there was gunfire reported all the way up as far as Aria, all the way north as far as Aria, the Tropicana, all the way east as far as east of MGM, I guess is the Hooters Casino Hotel, I think. It was
everywhere.
Yeah,
but there are a minimum of 3 that I know of that I've seen video evidence of.
Absolutely, and the media kind of made it just sound like it was just right there in the concert venue, and it was not.
That it was coming from the hotel room. It was one gunman shooting automatic weapons. Yeah, fancy that. Just as they keep trying to push, shoving gun restrictions on the United States.
Yeah, and there is, like, if I can recommend any of the folks of the interwebs or yourself there, Elizabeth, if you want some additional kind of a forensic study into that shooting and how tearing apart the official narrative, there's an individual on YouTube named John Cullen, JOHNCULLEN, and he's done some phenomenal work on breaking down and analyzing kind of in a forensic study of an analysis of the official story versus the available evidence of camera footage, body cam footage, radio reports, radar from the aircraft, because he found all these helicopters that had turned off their transponder boxes, and he asserts that there was individuals in helicopters shooting down from the sky as well.
I believe it, but there were so many victims that night. I can't imagine. I just, a little true story about that night. My husband and I were leaving the house to go to that concert.
Oh, no
we were
way.
supposed to be at that concert, but we got into a spat on the way to the car because I was being an asshole. Could have saved our lives.
I was gonna say, it sounds like it saved your life. Some things are meant to be that way, I suppose, right? Probably didn't seem very good at the time, but then I'm sure you got home and you're like, wow, what did we just avoid?
Yeah. I mean, we were having a petty argument about something stupid because I was being a fool, and he went to bed and I said, "F you, I'm not going to bed with you right now. I'm going to sit in the living room and watch TV." And then this came on and I was like, oh my God. Right?
Yeah, thank God, right? Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of these major events like that have been seemingly progressively at a higher and quicker rate of volume and rate of occurrence continuing to be perpetrated against the American public at large. Since I think that one was I look at that incident in 2 ways. It seemed to be the kind of a tipping point for a lot of these geopolitical struggles and this attempted coup, both in Saudi Arabia and the United States. But it also seemed to be, and which seemed to accelerate because it failed, right? So the incident failed, so it seemed to accelerate more activities, right? Additional, undermining authority of the governments and attempted coups after that. But also, the one thing I think that also occurred there is it's almost like the magic wore off, if you will. Like the spell, if you will, the spell the media portrays amongst the American public with selling these events. No one was buying it, right? I feel like, not to say nobody, but a significant percentage of the population was like, wait a second, this doesn't seem right.
They were telling people in the city this story about it was one person. But the problem with that is that so many people actually knew the one person, and so many people that were working at the hotel were close with this person, in close proximity of this person. So you can't tell me that someone's not, and many people came forward with their version of what they thought had happened. It just, yeah, it was wrong. Here's what I want to talk to you about today, JJ, because you've got a brilliant mind and you've got an insight into these things. And I'd like to ask you some questions, if that's okay.
Let's shoot. What do
your
you got for me?
podcast.
No, what do you got for me? I like the conversation. I may be the host, but it's not I don't run any kind of dictatorship. If you got some questions, shoot them my way.
It's my bad. So here's what I want to know, right?
Hmm?
There's so much. Oh my God. I don't even think we have enough time today to go over everything. So I hope I get to talk to you more than once.
We can always do another show in the future.
Definitely. Given what's happening right now and how this all started. So we and your audience has a basic idea of when things started to seem not quite right.
Mm-hmm.
When I was absolutely certain, and this particular event broke my heart. I mean, it took me months to feel normal again after learning what I learned about the inside of the World Trade Centers. And to learn that fact, it broke my heart. It sent me into a really deep depression, because my idea of what the United States is and what our government is completely changed that day. And I spent the next 3 years doing independent research about everything, even today.
I can reciprocate some of those same sentiments here, because I deployed numerous times. I was there at the beginning in Iraq at Baghdad International Airport, and I literally handed the keys off in 2011 to the Department of State when we closed it down. So I saw a lot of I never went to Afghanistan, but I saw a lot of the Iraq theater of warfare and whatnot, and how it progressed and how we did nothing and how et cetera, et cetera. So by the time I left there, I was kind of disenfranchised with the whole process, because it was way worse, in my opinion, than when we started there 8 years prior. So come 2012, I'm on like Netflix and watching, this is back when Netflix was not completely just propaganda. I believe it was Netflix.
We're pushing movies named Cuties.
Yeah, or whatever other disturbing social, engineering franchise they want to push on there. But there was a documentary, and you may have watched it. It's pretty infamous concerning the 9/11 topic. Loose Change. You familiar with that documentary?
I'm sorry.
Loose Change.
I don't remember the name of it, but I do remember finding information about an Israeli contractor and his crew coming in and fireproofing or something.
Okay. Yeah, there was definitely some aspects of that. There was the Israeli contractor who ran the security for the buildings, Kroll and Associates, as in the actor Nick Kroll from Hollywood. That would be his father's firm, I believe is how it goes. And I don't know if there's anything further in that topic.
Right.
But it's an interesting connection nonetheless. I like to connect dots. I'm a dot connector. And Me too. I'm working at headquarters in DC, managing programs for the military police, for the Air Force, and being very busy doing those things, and genuinely engaged in what I'm doing and enjoying what I'm doing. But I'm also at the same time sharing a conflict inside myself with this disenfranchised feeling I have with knowing how much we didn't do anything in Iraq, because I was there again at the beginning and the end. And I was literally one of the last guys on a plane out of there, giving the Department of State, signing everything over to the Department of State for them to have at the airport. And so I'm watching this loose change thing, and it really hit me. I never really considered the whole fabricated nature or false flag attack, if you will, or whatever terminology you want to apply to it concerning the 9/11 situation. So that was probably my real tipping point in my quote unquote conspiracy theorist tinfoil hat nature, was really understanding. It was a real eye-opening experience, understanding kind of my firsthand perspectives versus obviously they're lying to us. You know what I mean? And while I'm not saying Loose Change is the end-all be-all of the 9/11 story, but it is an eye-opening experience for anyone to watch. And it's a pretty infamous documentary on the subject.
You said Loose Change?
Yeah, the Loose Change, yes. It was a well-produced film. I mean, it was, I believe he was a film college student, I think, out of New York, who made the film. And, I can't really denigrate his efforts in producing it. I think he's probably wrong in a few things, but yeah, I'm probably wrong in a few things. I mean, over time, if you don't realize you were wrong on previous assumptions or assertions, then you're probably not thinking very much.
Well, I think what that experience taught a lot of people was that the government was willing to murder its own citizens for money.
Yeah, war is money. War's good for government in corporations.
I remember a scene from Schindler's List when Schindler was sitting at the table with his then wife, who he had just invited to visit with him, and said that he couldn't anticipate the one thing that was missing from his business strategy that had finally made him a lot of money. And she says, "What, luck?" And he says, "No, war." And I had no idea. Well, where'd you go, JJ? I lost you again.
Oh, sorry. I was having some connectivity issues here. I'm trying to fix it.
Okay. That's it. But the thing that woke me up when I found out about the buildings in 9/11 and how they had been sabotaged structurally by those Israeli contractors. And that sort of, it broke my heart because it then opened my eyes that, yeah, the American government is willing to murder its own citizens for money. I mean, I never really thought twice. I always trusted the government to take, care of its people. That's what they're there for, right? I mean, here I am naive as a young person thinking the government's supposed to take care of us.
Yeah,
right.
And that's what they tell us.
But all of those people that were working in the building that day to create a distraction from the gold that went missing in Building 7. And I'm like,
glad you said that. That's one of my favorite aspects of 9/11 as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
people don't know that. A lot of people don't know.
Yeah, I always use the film Die Hard 3 as the reference point because most people know film and have seen movies and whatnot. And that is the plot of Die Hard 3. The Nazi folks are going in there and stealing all the gold. They're doing all these bombings around town and whatnot to distract everybody. And what they're really doing is stealing all the gold from underneath the World Trade Centers. And there was gold down there. I mean, this was a real thing. It's not just a Hollywood plot line. And no one really likes to talk about
$several trillion.
Yeah, big time. From the biggest banks like J.P. Morgan, all those big Wall Street banks, they all had access to the gold vaults from various locations, around Lower Manhattan.
Damn thing.
Oh, you're fine. I'm over here dealing with technical issues too. So by all means, do what you got to do there, Elizabeth.
That's what makes you awesome, JJ, because you're real. You're not manufactured or produced.
Thanks.
You're real.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, that is so. It seems like a wealth heist at that point. So it seems multifaceted, I guess. So you have the war, starting off a war in the Middle East, and the monetary, economic aspects of that, and as far as war profiting goes. But then you also have the heist of all this gold. And
I don't know if there was a heist. I think they transferred it to the Vatican.
Oh,
that's my idea of what happened.
I like that. I like where your head's at on that, Elizabeth. That's an interesting thought. And
yeah, I believe that the Vatican.
I'm actually curious to know how much gold is in Fort Knox, because no one's ever audited that gold. And
right.
For example, if you or any of the other folks of the interwebs listening to our show here today are curious to know what the hell I'm talking about, in August of 1971, Richard Nixon was forced to go on national television and tell the entire world that we don't have France. I think it was France. Apologize if I'm getting the country wrong. I believe it was France asked America for their gold back, which we were holding in supposedly holding in Fort Knox, or the Federal Reserve was, not necessarily America, because the Federal Reserve is not part of America. But
right.
He had to go on TV and say, "Look, we don't have France's gold." And that actually, to kind of circle back to our previous conversation with the Saudi Arabian coup and the Vegas event for 2017, in large part, those two subjects, while separated by almost 50 years, are the same subject. Because what happened there was, after the whole gold debacle with Nixon in 71, the Nixon administration, I think it was specifically Henry Kissinger, his Secretary of State, who in my opinion is a Nazi, he brokered a deal with Saudi Arabia for Saudi Arabia and OPEC generally to only accept U.S. dollars for the purchase of oil, which gave us, we had a gold-backed dollar until Nixon had to tell the whole world and I don't blame Nixon for it. He was probably, and I make a lot of comparisons between Nixon and Trump. They're very much, a lot of times, I'm not saying they're the greatest guys in the world, but they both thought they were president. They both wanted to enact their own policies, and they both seem to have very pro-American policies and views. And I think Nixon, much like Trump, was forced to go dance on the stage about COVID and put everything in kind of lockdown, even though that really wasn't his. If you look at his words and pay attention to his mannerisms, that was not what he was intentionally trying to do at the beginning, but he seemed to be forced to do that. I think in large part, Nixon was forced to do the whole gold standard thing, but the result of it was we're suddenly in league with Saudi Arabia, that oil is now linked to the U.S. dollar, which now that's why the dollar is fading so quickly, because Saudi Arabia is now taking gold again and taking other currencies.
In office who back then, while all of this was going down, who's in office now? That is the question people should be asking.
Well, that's a good. Let me think. That's a good question. Who was in office back then? That's in office now. Joe Biden.
That's one.
He was a junior senator at the time. Who else?
But I mean, what I'm saying is that people, the questions that people are asking and the arguments people are having on social media and in public are totally missing the bigger picture.
Oh, absolutely.
They're missing the bigger picture. They're seeing the LGBT.
I call them the Q gang because it stands for, like in a multiple choice test.
Okay.
A, B, C, D, D's all of the above. LGBTQ, Q's all of the above.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. Every time I go to reference the community, there's a new letter added, and I usually leave somebody out. So I'm kind of like, all right, I just, you know what? There you go.
That's why I landed with Q, all of the above. That way it encompasses
all of the above. When the all of the above community started this public hysteria about the trans community, again, I'm not sure what I can say on your show because a lot of people are losing their channels for talking about stuff, and I don't want that to happen to you, JJ.
I don't mind. I actually, the introduction of my more recent show, since I've rebooted it a couple months ago, my introduction of every episode is I welcome people to Meme World 2023. It's 4 times as worse than the original, much like a Hollywood film franchise. The original might be a good film, but the fourth one in the franchise is terrible. And 2020 was already bad enough. 2023 is miserable, and I say, and here in 2023, in Meme World 2023, up is down, back is front, left is right, men are women, and women are men. So you're welcome to say whatever you'd like. Because
they're not.
No,
they are not.
That's the belief that's being perpetrated in Meme World 2023.
Yeah. And they're doing that for a reason. And that's another subject I'm really grateful that we can talk about today, because I've seen this happening slowly. Sure. Over the period of the last 15 years, it started to advance. But I believe it was back in 1967, right before the 71 thing with Nixon that you were talking about, that there is an actual convention in which the Communist Manifesto was distributed. And now this is something that I learned, and I could have maybe 1 or 2 minute details wrong, but in that manifesto, it was a handbook. Basically, they were talking about how to disintegrate the United States from within. Yep. And one of those things was to destroy the nuclear family, the mother, the father, 2-parent home, heterosexuality, and a lot of other things. So they succeeded in making divorce very easy to get. Divorce. You don't like somebody, fucking divorce.
Yeah, normalizing it, right? They succeeded.
Right, normalizing divorce.
Yeah.
And then after normalizing divorce, normalizing having children out of wedlock. The whole was Summer of Love or whatever. But they normalized all of these behaviors.
No, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you. I was just going to comment on the Summer of Love thing, but go ahead. It's a stupid joke, so go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, I
like jokes. What was your joke?
No, I was just going to say, it became the whole, quit, the whole Summer of Love concept in general was like, don't worry about trying to find the person you love, but just be with the person you're with kind of deal. And that was like the whole free love thing. And yeah.
There's a song that actually had those lyrics, love the one you're with.
Oh, okay. Well, great.
But it was right after marriage was made easy to end, and then having children out of wedlock became normal. Then it became single parent homes became normal because it was a brave thing to do. Absolutely. Being a single mother home was a brave thing to do, being a single parent home. And then children going into foster care became a normal thing. Not to mention, all this time, abortion became a woman's choice versus, hey, what about that child that is not going to be born? All of these things that were normally found to be abominations were normalized.
Mm-hmm.
And the most recent thing that is a next step into destroying the United States from within is trying to brainwash children into thinking there's something they may not be.
Sure. Yeah, and again, you're spot on, I think, and everything you just stated, Elizabeth. Because I'll just start from your last comment and move backwards with this whole letting children decide which gender they are. I mean, we don't let children do anything. They don't have the legal authority to make decisions, and there's good reasons for that. But suddenly it's like, oh, well, you can let them choose their gender. Well, I'll tell you, the next evolution in that path is the sexualization.
They'll choose it for you.
Well, that's actually happening right now, kind of in some jurisdictions around America. But I think the next logical evolution of that thought process you're right, the cultural Marxists. It's all cultural Marxism we're talking here. From the work of the Communist Manifesto of Karl Marx, and the next stage from letting children choose their gender is, well, if the 6-year-old can have sex with an adult, they can make that decision.
They're normalizing that now in the World Economic Forum. The World Health Organization is now pushing for legislation legalizing children to be of age of consent.
Yep.
I shit you not.
No, and when it's picking up and it's progressing, but this has been a long going battle. For example, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the former Supreme Court justice, wrote a legal paper. This is before her time on the court. This is the early, maybe we'll call it 1974. She wrote a legal theory paper, basically arguing for the age of consent laws to be reduced, I think, age 12. So this is
we know what she was about too.
Long going battle, very long going. Battle. But
there's.
But may I just interject real quick? I'm interested to know about this conference, 1967 conference. You stumped me on that one. I'm not familiar with which conference that is. Do you have any?
I'm going to look that up right now. Hold on one second.
As soon as you started saying that, I'm like, yep, you're spot on, because it's Marxism. And you look at organizations like Black Lives Matter, right? You look at organizations like the people that call themselves the Marxists or the Socialists or the Communists, where you look at cults like this cult called the Process Church, the Final Judgment. Some of the key tenets of all these organizations are all Marxist concepts. They're all directly from the work of Karl Marx in the Communist Manifesto. And on top of the ones you've already covered with the eradication of the nuclear family and all these things, one of the primary goals of all of these groups, the Marxists, the Communists, the Socialists, the Black Lives Matter, this is one of their listed core concepts. The Process Church, the Final Judgment, one of their core concepts, and that is eradicating the middle class. They call them the bourgeois middle class.
There is, I found the resource for you, by the way. How do I send that to you?
There is a chat, but let me see here.
Are you able? Oh, yeah, there is. No. I'm still learning. This is my first time here. I see it.
I've only used this once or twice. So no worries.
Message everyone. Oh, it's not going to let me share a file.
Oh, you can just, if you want to send it to me via email or something after, or text even after.
I will.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah. There were actual conferences, but the thing that the thing
more about it, because I think it's not only is this, I can, again, we've both just shared numerous data points where this has been going on for many decades, but I think it's, in most of the time, these people are so ignorant, and there's such a bravado nature of their whole atmosphere and environment they operate in, that they write it down, they publish it, but people don't look, people don't read. If they looked and read, they would know these things.
You're gonna stand there, owning a fireworks stand, and tell me you don't have no whistling bungholes, no spleen splitters, whisker biscuits, honky lighters, Husker do's, Husker don'ts, cherry bombs, nipsy-daisers, with or without the scooter stick, or one single whistling kitty chaser?
I agree with you. I totally agree with you that people are uninformed, and it's unfortunate. It is definitely unfortunate because when the latest crisis is crammed down everybody's throats, and the latest event that we're supposed to have to defend ourselves from because, we're being accused of something that is completely not true. It doesn't matter what it is. There's so many now. The next one will come along shortly. But
Very
what
true.
people aren't asking is what's happening while these events are being thrown in our faces. All of these things are meant to distract us from something. The whole BLM thing was meant to distract us. The trans kids surgeries are meant to distract us from something.
Absolutely.
And what's happening right now is meant to distract us from something. What people are not talking about, which is a huge, historic, end of the road sort of situation, is the CBDCs.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is slavery. There is no going back after this goes active. And all these things that, conservatives and liberals, left, right, center, all these things that people are paying attention to now is allowing them to begin to implement these things. There are bank owners, bank managers, bank tellers who are telling their friends and families, we're seeing this stuff coming. Like they're taking measures in the banking system right now to make this go active. Why is CBDCs a problem? Because it's over after that. There is no gold standard. There is no turning your money in. There's no using cash after that. After that, the government will be able to say whether you will or will not be able to get paid for something.
Based upon a social credit score that's implemented through China that we're trying to adapt here in this country, which we call ESG.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yep.
So what is the latest thing? Let's talk about that, JJ. What's the latest thing?
Yeah, if I may provide you a couple of responses on that statement, I'd like to give you some feedback and some data points and just share with you how you're spot on in that analysis. We have just one relative to the distraction. Look at this distraction of this Titanic submarine that's been going on all week. Meanwhile,
they died on Sunday.
Yeah,
they didn't die yesterday. They died on Sunday.
Exactly. So it's provably a distraction. Meanwhile, Hunter Biden's getting off scot-free from numerous felonies. You know what I mean? That that's clearly, to me, it seems like that's a distraction. It's a distraction from John Durham's congressional hearing this week in Congress discussing the whole Russia probe. Now, I think a lot of people want to say, "Oh, John Durham, he didn't do anything," yada yada yada. What John Durham did was prove to everybody that we have an unequal system of justice in this country. That
I think it's a little bit deeper than that. Yeah, I agree with you.
But there is, I agree. There's a lot of aspects to it. But I think one of the most notable takeaways, just on a surface level for the Durham investigation, is he showed everybody that if you take a Clinton lawyer, you take their fake Russian informant that helped perpetrate this entire Russiagate conspiracy, and you put them on trial, neither one of them get convicted because there's an unequal system of justice.
Okay, you better than anybody know for a fact that the public only knows what they're allowed to know.
Absolutely.
Working in the position you worked in for as long as you did, you've seen that what they tell the public isn't necessarily the case of reality of the event, of all things. So what we know about the John Durham report is what they allowed us to know. What went on in that courtroom might be something different or something addition, to what we have been told or found out.
Absolutely. And if you can just look at the takeaways from the hearing, I mean, there's already an ethics investigation passed on the House floor to investigate Adam Schiff. There's already 2 new impeachment motions filed House resolutions filed to impeach Joe Biden that have been filed since the Durham hearing. But honestly, if you look on LOC.gov, the library, or LOC.gov, or maybe it's not LOC, but the U.S. Congress, wherever they put all their files, I think it's LOC.gov. But you can go on there January 21st, 2022. I'm sorry, January 21st, 2021, when Joe Biden took office. The day after, I'm sorry, there was an impeachment resolution submitted in Congress. Now, it didn't go anywhere. It didn't go anywhere because the Democrats ran in Congress at the time. Now it's going places because there's, not Democrats in charge.
I'm wondering if they installed, because he was absolutely installed, and we know that for a fact. I mean, anybody alive with a pair of eyes knows that he was installed. They needed him in there. Yeah. And they're not going to get rid of him either. Republicans aren't going to get rid of him because what's the alternative? Kamala Harris.
Right. And I think it's all, what I'm getting at is it's all part of the show. So I think It's to teach the American people. People, they react to the submarines lost. We gotta pay attention to
That
this.
was sad though.
I mean, it is sad, but I mean,
Yeah.
it was used. I mean, a lot of tragedy is used as a distraction. I'm not
Oh
really.
my God, yeah.
I'm not really commenting on the aspects of the tragedy, more so just the obtuse use of how it's used as propaganda, and that was the most recent.
Definitely.
But I think this is my analysis of Donald Trump, and I think he's the one pulling a lot of these strings. He's the greatest reality TV star the world's ever seen. He had the #1 reality TV show, and his favorite book is The Art of War from many years ago by Sun Tzu, and he wrote his own autobiography, The Art of the Deal, based upon that. So that's my favorite book, The Art of War, and if you understand the concepts in that book and you pay attention to what Donald Trump's doing, you can gauge in my opinion, you can gauge a better understanding of what he's doing. And he's perpetrating a show for everybody, right? He's showing everybody, so no one's going to believe. Like if he arrested Hillary Clinton in 2017, there would have been nothing but outrage against him. But if you put on a show and teach everybody, the whole world, that this is all what's going on, what's being perpetrated against their freedoms, their liberties, then you can take action. And I think bringing up articles of impeachment, I agree with you. I don't think they're going to succeed, but it's teaching folks a lesson, right? It's teaching them of this unequal nature of eradication of our constitutional rights.
Agree with you. I think that the articles of impeachment are a show. I believe if they wanted him out, they would have charged him with treason long before now. I think what they're doing is so they can maintain an appearance of doing something about it, is to propose those documents. But what I really think they're doing is they're waiting for him to die of natural causes because of his advanced age.
It's possible.
And I think the same is with the Clintons. The Clintons are of advanced age, and nothing is going to happen to them because it would implicate too many people. So they're going to raise a fuss, and they're going to introduce some papers, say we're going to smack you on the hand, bad boy, and not do anything about it, because by the time they act on it, they'll be too old to either be prosecuted or they'll just die of natural causes. And that's why they wanted to keep the Hunter Biden thing, or there was something recently that I just said. Maybe you can answer this question, JJ. They wanted to keep the details out of the public for 60 years, not the Pfizer reports, but something else. What was that?
I think you're right. They were trying to seal a lot of the Biden crime family activities.
60 years.
So
why? Because everybody involved would be dead.
That's true, because that's what happened with the JFK reports, and that's why they classified them for so long. So I'm a little bit more. I don't disagree with you. I think you're spot on in many respects. I'm a bit more optimistic as far as the actual justice goes, because Donald Trump, one of the concepts kind of understood from The Art of War is you're going to do to your enemies what they did to you. And if you look at what he's been doing to his enemies what they did to him. And that's the reason why Joe Biden's in office today, in my opinion. So in 2016, if you recall, in July 2016, then FBI Director James Comey, who was fully in on the fraud against Trump, he held a press conference and said, we're not going to charge Hillary Clinton, even though it's not his call. He's not the attorney general. We're not going to charge Hillary Clinton. No sane prosecutor or reasonable prosecutor, whatever his phrase was, would charge her. And I assure you, that's absurd. Just, the laws surrounding classified documents are very strict. There's not an intent. A lot of times you have to prove criminal intent. There's no proof of criminal intent in those regards. So
podcast right now who are not prior service military or with experience, would you explain very briefly why the classified the chain of custody is a big thing?
Sure.
Some people listening might not understand.
Yeah, I mean, there's it's not just like one person writes classified on a piece of paper and then it's classified. I mean, there's certain procedures and protocols to route different documents, and the security of those documents, and the handling of those documents, and the transmission of those documents.
A record of all of it.
Yeah, there's a chain of custody of all of that. And then when you start going up higher in the classification ratings, it gets more strict, more, onerous terms in which how to handle these documents. Now,
definitely, you
can't take these documents out of what's called a secured compartmental information facility, SCIF. Now, Hillary Clinton had a server in her bathroom without a password that was sending carbon copies to a server in China, and that's been proven. So there's no question about whether or not there was any crimes broken there. Relative to Donald Trump's classified documents scandal, there is no scandal. He's walked them right into this path, and he's done it on purpose. He's done it on purpose because Bill Clinton has violated these classification laws? Barack Obama, which is why Donald Trump always calls it the Barack Obama sock drawer classified document scandal. So that's what I'm saying. He's walked all these people in there. He walked Joe Biden into the presidency, and here's why. So, and I'll use this. I'll make that statement, and I'll qualify it with a Hunter Biden statement. So Hunter Biden's getting indicted, or he's got a hearing. His guilty plea hearing is on July 26th.
Tax evasion.
Right? Yeah. So if you look at the actual court filing, he's re-pleading, right? He's already pled to these charges. This is a re-pleading hearing.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What?
So
Ooh, tell me more about this, JJ.
Yeah, because in my opinion, he got indicted in December of 2019 in the state of Delaware from the U.S. Attorney in the state of Delaware, and that's, if you remember, December 2019.
He's still alive.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's heard from him. I haven't seen any news articles, reports on the guy, but in December 2019, they convened a grand jury against Hunter Biden and the Biden crime family in the state of Delaware. And, obviously grand jury.
I didn't hear about that.
Well, grand juries, you have to kind of pay attention to the details of what's going on in the court system, because grand juries are, by their very nature, are classified. They're confidential.
Something that the media would have picked up on, even conservative media?
No.
You know what I noticed, JJ? And I got to butt in.
Vanguard, they're not going to
right.
Anybody. But
I got to butt in for just hair of a second.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Before each of these historically destructive elections, the Democratic candidate has been discovered to be a part of a massive, devastating scandal.
Oh yeah.
Have you noticed that?
There's no shortage of scandals with Obama, who claims he was a scandal-free president.
Right. Other than he's married to a man.
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, he's Michael, Big Mike. Yeah,
there are effing pictures of the guy, for God's sakes. Really, who are we trying to fool people?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Obama, because I want to bring that back up, but later, about his nationality for this discussion today. But
I got lots of time for you today.
Let me conclude my Biden point. So, if you remember, in October of 2019, even Kamala Harris was jamming up Joe Biden on the Democratic debate stage, right, when they were doing the DNC debates. He was the boss.
Horrible.
He was below her, and she was polling at like 1%. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Donald Trump saw that. In my opinion, Donald Trump saw that and said, "Oh, now's the time." So the reason why Hillary Clinton, back to the James Comey Hillary Clinton July 2016 press conference, the reason why Hillary Clinton did not get charged, because there's a long-standing Department of Justice policy that they will not charge a presidential candidate in a presidential election year cycle.
So what happened this year?
Well, it's not a presidential election year.
Isn't it, though?
No, not till next year. The vote's in 2024.
Wait, 2024?
Yeah.
Oh, crap. Oh, you mean we're stuck with this asshole for another year?
Probably.
Fuck me, man. Damn.
Probably. But so
I thought we were almost done with this shit.
In my opinion, Donald Trump was so irate when they didn't charge Hillary Clinton that he's like, all right, well, I'm going to do this to you guys. And he waited till Joe Biden was the bottom of the barrel in their candidates, because I'm sure he had more than one of their candidates. He could find some crimes to put on them, because, as you said, they all have scandals.
Yeah. Every one of them.
In December 2019, that's when the grand jury convened in Delaware. They never really announced the outcome of the grand jury. Obviously, it's confidential. But nonetheless, if you look at the details now, where Hunter Biden's now replaying his case, right? And in July 26th.
Would that mean his case had to be reopened?
Well, no, it just means that the prosecution didn't follow through with their end of the plea agreement and prosecute in compliance with that agreement.
Oh, see, I'm not a lawyer. I'm glad you know that.
Yeah, there's prosecutorial discretion in certain instances such as that, where they can make those, whether or not it's right or not, they can do.
Wow.
So
that's wild, JJ.
If you look, yeah, absolutely, I agree. And are you, Elizabeth? Are you familiar with kind of the tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist notion that there's all
of them? Lay it on me. I got them all.
There's tens of thousands sealed indictments that started happening in 2017, 2018 under the Trump
administration. I heard about that.
And you can go on to there's a federal court website you can go on. You can't see the indictments, but you can see the listed number of sealed indictments, and they're exponentially higher than any year previous, right? So my assertion is that Hunter Biden had his name on one of those sealed indictments, and that was the original plea deal that he had done, and now he's replaying that under his dad's
You want
administration.
to hear a fun one? Here's a fun conspiracy theory.
Let's do it.
And this one was entertaining for me because we all know entertainment is chocked full of pedophilia and fucking communism these days. So
I like it. That's
instead
exactly
of
where my head's at with in regards to the media and everything.
instead of watching anything on TV now, I entertain myself with reading. And one of my fun conspiracy theories that entertains the shit out of me whenever I get really, really annoyed with how things are being handled right now, I believe in the bottom of my heart that Hunter Biden turned state's evidence against the other treasonous individuals in office because he has the receipts. So you can't tell me that he magically left a laptop containing mountains of evidence against world leaders.
Right.
And if they wanted that laptop back, they would have gotten it back even after it changed hands. They have it, which means they are meant to have it. Someone is meant to be looking at that. Because Hillary Clinton can murder her fucking babysitter and, the guy who delivers her groceries. Huh?
No, Hillary, Hillary Clinton's got like 55 suicides of her circle of friends, suicides.
So far that we know of. Right? So if they wanted that laptop back, if it was really an accident, they would have burned down the business. They would have murdered the business owner. The guy's still alive, and so is the business. Rudy Giuliani got it, huh?
I'll do you one better. I like where your head's at, though, on this. I think you think you may be spot on. I think Hunter Biden may have turned state's evidence.
I believe he did.
Yeah,
and that's the only reason he hasn't been executed yet.
I don't think he ever walked into Mac Isaac's MacBook computer repair shop and dropped off his computer. I don't think that ever happened. I think that's a fictional tale.
I agree. I totally agree with you, JJ.
What I think happened, and I'll go back to my concepts of how Donald Trump operates, the art of war. So
what
did they do to Donald Trump? In March of 2016, he said they're spying on me, right? He said they've tapped my Trump Tower.
I believe it.
And then he left and went over to his Bedford, New Jersey resort and never went back to Trump Tower for months, right? That's because the NSA director Mullen, it was Michael Mullen, Admiral Mullen, I believe. He Navy Admiral, was in charge of the NSA at the time. I believe his name was Mullen. I could be mistaken. We haven't known his name, but anyway, Mike something, Admiral Mike something. I can't remember his last name. Maybe. Anyway, he went to Trump Tower and told Trump they're spying on you. I think that was he got in a lot of hot water over that as well, and was ousted from the Obama administration. But that's kind of where that all kind of blew up. So what's Donald Trump going to do in that regard? He's going to do the same thing to his enemies. Right. So if you have suddenly you're the president and you were spied on, what would you do if you're Donald Trump? Well, you would
make them pay for it. That's what I would do.
Yeah, you would make a copy of
and
Hunter
that's what
Biden's,
he's doing.
Yeah, you make a copy of Hunter Biden's the Biden crime family's illicit activities by hacking Hunter Biden's iCloud account or whatever else they had to do that. Right. Put it on a laptop.
Wouldn't be hard.
No, it wouldn't be hard at all. You have the full weaponization of the NSA at your disposal when you're president there, and they could have put it on a laptop and dropped it off in the home state of Delaware, literally right across the street from Beau Biden's old law.
Which is like 3 blocks big.
Exactly. Everybody knows each other there. And literally the computer.
Delaware's like this big, yo.
It is. It really is. And you can see the computer repair shop from Beau Biden's old law office. Like that's how close they are from one another.
Curious, right?
Right. So another fun fact with Mr. Mac Isaac, the computer repairman involved in that scenario, his father's an Air Force colonel, I believe, of the Air Force.
Y'all paying attention?
So I genuinely think that was just a fabricated story that Donald Trump was again doing what was done to him, taking what was done to him and doing that right back to his enemies.
Here's another curious question for your audience members, JJ. Do you honestly believe that a computer repair company, mom and pop organization, when they saw these things on this computer, you mean to tell me they didn't make a copy of what was on there and then return the original to the owner?
I agree with you. He by the statements.
Come on.
I get it. Yeah. But according, that's what I'm saying. That's a very reasonable thing to point out. And if you want to take the statements of the repairman, what he said that he did make a copy. He said he tried to give it back to Hunter Biden, and then no one ever called him back, and et cetera, et cetera. So they've kind of built a narrative around kind of explaining that. But I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, that would be the first reasonable thing to do. And he's a crackhead. But if he knew that was there, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's going to go get it. And I say that when I say he's going to go get it, I mean the Secret Service would have gone to get it, because the Secret Service is Hunter Biden's current gun charge about lying on the form to buy a gun, that he wasn't a drug abuser and a felon. The Secret Service went to that gun shop and tried to get that form back from the gun shop. So I have no doubt they would have tried to get the computer too if they had an opportunity.
Something, JJ. So moving up to today, right, or to recently, are we going to talk about the big bad V word?
What's that?
Are we allowed to?
I don't know. What's the V word?
V. The V for, don't take that or you're going to die.
Oh, okay, yeah, the jab, the injection, the vaccine, absolutely.
Are you on Rumble?
I was going to post this on Rumble. I haven't. I haven't posted.
Probably a good idea.
This is I'm trying to share more of my Operation GCD shenanigans across as many platforms as possible.
Hey. It's gonna be fun.
I literally just joined Instagram last week, so I'm prior to that.
You're not missing anything. You're not missing anything.
I think that's about most social media. I'm not a big social media person.
Well, you're a guy. You're not supposed to.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Gender role conformity.
But yeah, I have a Twitter account merely to promote my podcast. So,
which is awesome. Twitter has changed a lot over the last 6 months.
Yeah, I agree. I never left it. I said, F these people. I'm going to stay here and say whatever the hell I want to, despite being shadow banned and censored and everything else.
Crazy.
I've seen a significant change since Elon Musk took over.
No, all you had to do was post nudity or pornography. You would have been fine.
Right. And apparently child pornography that was pretty rampant on there, according to Musk's own statements. That
they knew about, traded, and shared among the people that worked, at the previous, headquarters.
Oh, absolutely.
Man.
The one guy wrote a doctoral dissertation on some sort of child pornography, pedophilia type of stuff there. The chief, I think he was the chief compliance officer or something there at Twitter.
Isn't that something that a safety, a safety supervisor to regulate behaviors on Twitter to make sure that children aren't preyed upon is one actually preying upon children? Isn't that something?
Exactly.
Right.
And old Zuckerbucks is in trouble with the same stuff with Instagram right now, I believe.
I got a story to tell you, JJ.
Let's hear it. I like it.
I have a story to tell you. When I first started to make changes in my life, now I'm hoping that your people see me as Elizabeth Spraggins. I used to be known by a different name as an entertainer in a different line of work. But when all of this started happening in 2020, I started to see things differently about how I was living my life and what my work was doing to affect the world around me. And I started to look for a way out. But when I learned about the abduction and murdering of children, I did more research. You guys, the last 3 years of my life has been nothing but constant research, to the point where I've almost annoyed my husband. And my husband worships me. So it's like, it's hard to upset him. But when I finally,
that's awesome. So, that's awesome that you're motivated to educate yourself on the state of affairs in our world and improve not just yourself, but helping other people improve. That's
the world.
Focus. Yeah. It's awesome.
Absolutely. The world. And a lot of people who are just now starting to suspect something around them might not be quite right. And then they're trying to understand why. Why are all of these politicians acting this way? Why are these politicians selling out the United States to foreign countries who want to do us harm? Why is all of this happening? Don't they love their country? Don't they love their families who will live here long after they're no longer alive?
Sure.
Why would these people be doing this? And I began to look into things that people were talking about. And the things I found were so horrifying, JJ, that I left what I was doing that was making me 6 figures a year. I walked away from it. It is so disturbing. I walked away from $1 million income. The company that I own was making $1 million a year plus. Walked away from it, and I gave my life to Jesus Christ. And I said, I am so I am so ashamed of myself for not fighting for these children. When I found out about that, I changed my entire life, and I asked for forgiveness from God, and I said, oh my God, I can't believe I did not know. I can't believe I did not see. And this has been going on for decades. And
Yeah, it's
that's
been going
why
on a
these
very long
people are
time.
selling us out.
It's definitely been going on a very long time. You're spot on. No, I think
Yeah.
that's an awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's awesome journey that you've taken there, and it's quite noble, you know. And whenever I get into conversations with folks on the subjects of things like child pedophilia or child sex trafficking, you know, or even the topic of snuff films, right? I tell people, you don't believe these things are going on, especially like snuff films, for example,
Until you see
on
them.
the news. Go to Twitter. You're seeing people getting murdered on social media all the time. You can
Like
see
it's no big
videotapes
deal
on
now.
the news. It's desensitizing people. And I think
Yeah.
that's it. Ultimately, the goal is once people are desensitized, then they'll introduce these things as being normal overall.
Right.
But they've been going on a very long time.
What a lot of people don't understand, and it was really hard for me to accept, is that the people in Hollywood are part of the entire circle. There's a circle of people that are operating, and it's an addiction for them. This murdering and abducting of children is only a part of the process. Well, I don't know if you remember someone named Cappy.
Oh, Isaac
Do you
Cappy?
remember
Yeah,
someone
I
named?
recall. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
recall Isaac Cappy. I followed that
For those,
a little bit. That a little bit. I in loose tertiary associations with some of that activity relative to Tracy Twyman, a conspiracy theorist
yeah.
that supposedly passed away a number of years ago, directly related to the Cappy situation.
Right. For those of you out there who don't know or don't remember who Cappy was an up and coming male Hollywood star who was just finding his rhythm in the circuit of becoming successful. And he began to be exposed to all of these high powered elites in the Hollywood circuit. And he couldn't contain himself knowing what he knew without telling the public the truth, even though it eventually cost him his life. And he was telling the public and his fans on a public forum about who in Hollywood that he knew for certain by exposure to the person's behavior or their speech or one thing or another that they were involved in this harvesting of children. And by harvesting, I mean torture and murder. These people all have something to do with this, whether it be pedophilia or the murder of the children. And that is why they're so easily purchasable by places like China, by places like Ukraine.
Yeah.
You know, I have a lot to say about that shit too.
Yeah, they're compromised. Is what you're saying. These individuals are compromised.
Every one of them.
They can dance around. So whoever's pulling the strings can make them dance around in any manner they want.
Yeah. That people are not allowed to become successful in this country unless they're a part of that circle. You know, like that George Carlin thing. You're there. It's a big party. You know, it's a big party, and you're not part of it.
We're not in it.
We're not in it. And I always thought he was just a cranky old man until recent events. And I'm like, oh, fucking dude was right.
Yeah. Yeah. Time has proven George Carlin was spot on. I agree.
He was. And you know who else? Alex Jones.
Yeah, he's been proven correct a lot of times. I mean, I think a lot of people like to make fun of him over the whole rant of they're turning the frogs gay, but
yeah, they made fun of me
right.
too when I said that the vax was a bioweapon back in 2020.
And he's been proven right though, hasn't he, about the whole turning the frogs gay with the chemicals in the water and stuff. So, man, what are some of the chemicals in the water doing to humans?
Well, the thing that I ask myself is why would they want to make the children trans? Why would they want to make them gay? Well, it's so they don't procreate. And if you don't procreate, you decrease the population of future generations. And you also create children or adults in the future who are medically compromised and dependent on medications that will that psychologically alter them.
No, you're preaching to the choir, Elizabeth. This is a brave new world we're living in. Aldous Huxley's a brave new world. In fact, I like to joke around that relative to Kamala Harris, she loves Venn diagrams. She's all about these Venn diagrams. I like to joke around that we're in a Venn diagram of 1984, A Brave New World, and Fahrenheit 451.
And Revelations.
Right in the middle.
Right. Revelations is just looking right at the U.S. right now and going, hey, if you assholes don't get your shit together, the world is going to fall. Who's supposed to go out and make all this other shit stop? If the U.S. falls, who's left? Who's going to be the good guy after that?
Well, I mean, we're a very unique experiment and government and society here in America, and I think it's not the first
Yeah.
time, it's not the first time it's happened, but it's lasted longer than the previous occurrence, and we're verging on the edge of this one failing too if we don't folks,
Armageddon.
generally speaking, don't take action. And I say it failed the first time. I'll qualify that statement a little bit for you. So George Washington obviously started, first general who fought to start this nation, first president. His forefather and my forefather were I'm a Washington, not
So
from
cool.
from one of his
So cool, JJ.
from his maternal his paternal aunt is one of my foremothers. But the Clan Vance and the Washingtons go back much farther than that, back to the Magna Carta, right? So one of mine and George's common ancestors is a man by the name of Robert de Ross. He was a Knights Templar. He is the Knights Templar that was responsible for the Magna Carta. Now, modern day historians call the U.S. Constitution the Magna Carta 2.0. It's funny to me that 500 years apart from one another, you have Robert de Ross and then his, we'll call it 13th great grandson, George Washington. Robert de Ross is establishing what is essentially the Bill of Rights or constitutional rights in the Magna Carta in 1215, and George Washington's leading the charge in doing that in 1776. And I think that this portrays a longer battle between feuding sides of government control, social control, and not identifying people have a God-given right to liberty and freedom. And
I agree.
And the Magna Carta failed. It didn't last that long. It didn't even last 100 years, right? 1215 to 1308, I think. And we've done better this go around, but it's a trying times right now as far as relative to constitutional rights. Look at Donald Trump. If the U.S. president doesn't have constitutional rights, who has constitutional rights? It's a tough question.
I believe that there were people all day going all the way back to what was it, late 1890s or shortly just before then, that were in charge of beginning the end of the United States. And they operated with the purpose of taking out the United States as a constitutional republic. And one way that they intended to make that happen was to implement the Federal Reserve.
Oh, absolutely.
And there were 3 people aboard the Titanic. We've been talking about Titanic these last couple of days. 3 people, powerful people in money of the United States who opposed the Federal Reserve. Now, the survivors of the Titanic tragedy didn't see a damn iceberg. They didn't see that an iceberg. So the scuttlebutt is that it was torpedoed.
Yeah. That's
right.
That's
so
a good point in reference to 9/11. How does aluminum cut steel? How does an aluminum plane cut through steel? Right? How does an iceberg cut through a steel hull of a
doesn't.
Ship liner? Exactly.
It doesn't.
But
and if you look at the forensics of it,
I think you're spot on with that analysis too, Elizabeth. I think that's a good point.
Yeah. They were just talking about that today, that there were survivors, and there are reports from survivors that there was no damn iceberg.
Right.
They didn't see an iceberg. Yeah.
In Hollywood,
and it's something that big that's going to,
No, it was no. I don't. Sorry to interject. I was just going to say back to the Hollywood thing and propaganda and perpetrating a narrative. Hollywood was used to perpetrate this iceberg narrative. If anyone's seen James Cameron's Titanic, I mean,
oh God, yeah.
In their head, they're like, oh, I saw that on the big screen. It was definitely an iceberg.
Well, with communications being, restricted to Morse code over a radio, there's no video, there's no phone, there's no cameras going aboard that ship that someone could get out in the middle of the night in the dark and take a picture of something. Like it was very easy to lie to people back then. Now it's still easy to lie to people because there is half of a population who is so desperate to seek validation and seek love from outside of themselves and outside of what they've already been given, whether it be a marriage or a family or a circumstance. They constantly seeking outward, and Hollywood and the government is preying on that by offering them an alternative to what they should really be nurturing. And Hollywood and all of these people in the government are making a lot of money, and no one is stopping them, and they're selling out their country.
Absolutely. and I don't mean it in a derogatory sense, but to kind of piggyback on that statement as far as the general mindset of society in America.
Yeah.
And it's probably something you may have experienced yourself. It's something I experienced, at least I can tell you. I almost feel like looking back to where I was at now versus even like 2008 or prior. It's almost like I was in a trance. I wasn't.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I was cognizant. I was thinking, but I was almost like I was in a trance, so that I would never reach the point where I'm thinking about the proper things.
Yeah. And it also, I believe that there is, I mean, it sounds ludicrous to say this, JJ, but I believe it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing that all of this really rotten shit has been going down. It's been a gift to some people who could still be saved. And there is still people who can still be saved from themselves. There's still time. It's not over yet. And the more that happens and the worse it gets, the more people come back from that trance and that blissful ignorance of just how they are being screwed over. And that is a gift. That's a blessing. It helps me and many people.
Yeah, it is a blessing. That's a good way to put it. It is. I used to get really butthurt when my rights would get violated because I'm very particular about my constitutional rights.
Yeah, me too.
Part of which simply because I'm American. Part of which because of my upbringing. And I would say the third is ingrained in my DNA. I'm a Madison.
Yes.
President James Madison authored the U.S. Constitution. He's my first cousin 5 times removed. My forefather is his uncle, Colonel John Madison. So I really think that when I say it gets my blood boiling, I really think it's ingrained in my DNA at a very molecular level. So I used to get really butthurt when people would violate my rights, and trust me, I've had my rights violated significantly in recent years.
Lots, me too.
And
me too.
I don't no longer get butthurt about it. I just get more dedicated in combating it. Quite honestly, that's my kind of take on it now.
Speaking of, yeah. Let me get you started on a, I got a little butthurt story of myself. This just happened.
I get motivated for you. Let's hear your story.
Oh man, get me started. Okay, so for 11 years, I'm posting scantily clad pictures and very inappropriate shit on Instagram, right? Okay. I'm just going to put this out there. I am who I was. It made me who I am. I'm not ashamed of my past.
You weren't that person then. That's true.
Right. Yep. I would not be in a position to share the message if I did not have such a big audience, which I do. But I was spent all that time posting all of this inappropriate and scantily clad shit. And last night at around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I posted a picture of a black man wearing a t-shirt with the word Jesus on it.
Oh, wow.
Minutes it took for Instagram to lock me out of my account for 15 hours. Minutes.
Sad state of affairs, but I can see it.
Yeah, it's okay if you post porn and shit on the internet, but the second you post a picture of a man wearing a t-shirt with the word Jesus on it, I got locked out.
I like your
really?
Response. I like your response to it. That's the proper.
Oh no, my response was to make a video of not one person wearing a t-shirt with the word Jesus on it, but 5.
That's even better. No, I just like you flipping the bird because in the introduction of my reboot of my podcast, I tell everybody that that's my opinion. The proper remedy for Meme World 2023 is what I call the 2-bird salute, and it's just flipping off.
I call it the Jersey salute.
Yeah, just raise it real high. Put them hands above your head and let those birds fly.
Man, I'm telling you what. Hey, can we do this again?
No, that'd be great. I appreciate you joining me here today, Elizabeth, to get a little GCD here and share some conversation with America.
I got your GCD right here.
I think, as you can tell, I am a very pro-American individual, very rooted in the constitutional beliefs of this country, and it's been my upbringing, it's been my heritage, and
it's been my honor.
I'm honored to meet somebody like yourself who was so motivated to help other people and so motivated to the success of America. These are the people I like to meet and people I like to share conversations with. So I greatly appreciate it, and I'd love to have you back for another episode of Operation GCD in the future, and happy to discuss whatever topics you'd like to talk about, or we could talk about more about America if you'd like. It's up to you.
Well, we better do it before July 1st, because after then they might say whether or not you're allowed to use your internet. We have no idea.
There is definitely a concern with network, connectivity issues concerning the internet. And I think you and I communicated about that last week, where there was suddenly a
Mm-hmm.
lot of weird network connectivity issues that didn't really have a lot of great
Yeah.
explanations. And, you read a lot of things on social media, be it Twitter, be it Instagram, and you wonder, is this a legitimate thing? But then I'm looking around, I'm like, wow, there are military vehicles in all these cities. They're, looking at news stories and other reports. There are simultaneously these weird connectivity issues with internet. I mean, the whole metropolitan area of in and around Seattle was down for like 3 days with no explanation last weekend. 2.5 days. Yeah, like I think it was Bellevue, Renton, a lot of the Seattle suburb areas around the metropolitan area of Seattle. They didn't have internet for like 2.5 days without any explanation. It was
Interesting if there were people landing on an LZ in the area and nobody was able to know about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why folks might want to take down the internet. That's certainly one of them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. To you, man, JJ, I could talk to you for hours, brother. Oh my God.
Come on back, Elizabeth. Anytime. It's been a great conversation. I enjoyed meeting you, and again, I'm motivated meeting people like you and having conversations and understanding there are many people out there, because I think people think it's very pessimistic time, very very dark time, and I don't think that it's one of the messages I like to portray in Operation GCD, that there are people out there that do care about America, that do care about values, and do care about the future of this country and the success of the people in it, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, religion, any of those things. It doesn't matter to me, And I think from what I gather from you, these aren't things that inhibit you and motivating and wishing the success of other people.
At all. Yeah. And the fact that people are using that as a weapon is the dumbest shit ever to me. But, I want to thank you for having me on your show. I look forward to talking to you soon because, shit's going down in rapid succession now. And I want to be able to have someone to talk to about it, because not everybody has the balls to have a show like this. So I thank you that you do. Everybody, my name is Elizabeth Spraggins. I am the founder of All Joy Inspired. Thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Well, that's it. That's the show here, folks. So the next time you're out on the town, visiting your local watering holes, or perhaps just meandering around, and you hear the unmistakable sounds of metal clanking, and you spot signs of a disturbance, well, check your six. Look in that garbage can, 'cause you never can tell. The GCDs may be loose in your town.